Before I get started, how many people are here for the very first time? So everybody here has been here multiple times. Okay, that's cool. Glad to see you guys are returning. All right, you can look right in here. I've got my at least twice. Right, DM. Um, the I have a stock quotes account that I post a few things during the week when I see things that are worth posting. If I have day trades, I will not post them because I don't want you guys chasing in too late. Any swing trades or whatever. Right now, we're not really, haven't been really in a swing trade mode, although I did post Fox A and Grub as shorts a week or so ago. And you can follow me on YouTube, and that's where we will be posting the recording later tonight for people who want to um, look at it. Or if it's one day you miss a session, you could go there. However, I am not there every Sunday. I do try to record it and post it up there, even if I'm not the presenter. But there are no guarantees if I'm not the presenter. All right. Without further ado, let's step on. The disclaimer: trading involves risk and loss of capital. Make sure that you're only investing or trading with risk capital that you can afford to lose if things go wrong, and nothing here should be considered as trading advice. All right, a little bit about my background. I will post. Let me do this right now. I meant. Is it possible to turn my mic up a bit? Sure. Anybody else having trouble with the sound? Let me see right here. Okay. I'll get it just a fraction closer. Um, Not the other John M. Are you on a laptop by any chance? Nope. All right. Maybe you can crank up your volume just a little bit more. I don't want to start blasting everybody else out. And let's see here. I'm posting up the slides. All right, thanks. We aim to accommodate, but I just don't want to blow everybody out. Okay, just posted up the charts in case you want to follow along. And let's go on. I want you to stick around to the end. There's a special offer at the end of the presentation, but Hit and Run Candlesticks is made up of multifaceted tools, and one of them is the Hit and Run Candlesticks Room, run by Rick Sadler, and primarily daily swing trading. And Doug Campbell does right way options. As you might know, it's options focused. Those are both swing trades more than day trades. I tend to hang out in the right way options room, although I will be back and forth between that and the Hit and Run Candlesticks and the LTA scanner, the live trading alerts. Mr. Ed Carter, who is kind enough to join us this evening, is the King Daddy Rabbit for that, and it's probably one of the best scanning tools, live scanning tools that I've ever come across at any price. And it's at a reasonable price considering what you're getting. All right, we'll get there later. We'll get that special offer out there. We're going to cover the economic calendar, earnings, market overview, go put out a few trade ideas, Q&A, not spot stock specific. So the first ones we're going to go over will be things like, you know, why do you have why do you use stochastics RSI versus RSI or stochastics or anything like that? Ask me about my charts or just anything that you may have heard in there that's not stock specific. Then, time permitting, we'll look at some of your stocks, one each. Please limit to that. Okay, economic reports. We have nothing of import that I see on Monday or Tuesday. Obviously, we got existing home sales petroleum report and the FOMC minutes on Wednesday. The existing home sales obviously could move the markets after we open, so that's 30 minutes into the day. FOMC minutes could surprise us if there's something in there that is not expected. Could move the markets on Wednesday afternoon. And the biggie on Thursday and Friday is Jackson Hole. They're having an economic symposium out in Wyoming. And some years it's lots of fireworks from the fallout from what is said out there. I'm not really expecting anything out of the ordinary, but watch me be wrong, huh? Also on Thursday, we got jobless claims, Friday, new home sales, and Mr. Jerome Powell will be speaking at that Jackson Hole on Friday at 10 a.m. So be warned and be forearmed. All right, here's the earnings calendar. These are stocks between about 10 and I guess it's about 300 really. Average daily volume for the last 20 days greater than about 475, and an average true range of 25 cents or more. Basically, want the stock to be moving and not just sitting there at 1 or 2 cents. Okay, the ones that are highlighted in yellow have greater than 10% short float interest. Monday, Sina and Weibo. Notable earnings on Tuesday. We got Baidu, Home Depot. We got Kohl's, Medtronic, and TJ Maxx. Obviously, you could read these. Urban Outfitters, high short interest. Children's Place. Thursday, BJ's, Dick's, and Hormel. JW Nordstrom and Wuba, all short. Buckle. VMW, that's a favorite actually trading stock of mine. Foot Locker. The Gap, and Hibbard on Friday. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the market overview. I'll bring that up. All right, I like to start with crude oil. Crude oil, we peaked back. Let's go back to 6-month chart. We peaked back in April, and we've transitioned from an uptrend to a downtrend again in oil. We got down as low as about 51. We bounced as high as 60 or 61, and now we've resumed our downtrend. This chart looks a little busy with some of the lines that I don't have in there. Let's get rid of this puppy. Get rid of that puppy here. I could probably get rid of this one here. All right. I called for $52 as the bottom, or actually around $51, I guess, as the trading range. And the top of our trading range here is probably about 58 to 58 and a half. But I don't trade oil on a swing basis. I'll do day trades of those. And I do like to trade the petroleum report every Wednesday. But oil is in a downtrend. We basically have a channel that I'm visualizing from about the 1st of July through where we are now. We're pretty much mid-channel. Gold, pulling off the highs just a bit. We got as high as about 1550, and we look like we're pulling back. The price is not pulling back as much as the stochastics RSI. This tells me, in all likelihood, this is building up steam for the next move higher. Now, it doesn't, price is first and foremost, and only use stochastics RSI. Hey, coach, but only use the stochastics RSI as a secondary indicator for momentum and maybe some timing. But price is king. All right, let's move on over to the S&P 500 futures. Let's go here to a 6 month, 3 months. All right. The end of July, we got a trade tantrum going on, and we started to fall out of bed and had a huge drop here. We did a reversion to the mean bounce up to about 29.40 to 29.50. We went back and retested the 28.15 level. Did not go down to the 27.75 ultimate lows. I call this a double bottom. Now, that doesn't mean that we did a double bottom and it's off to the races to the upside. When I say it did a double bottom, that we're going back up towards the top of this range. Right now, the trading range is 28.15 to 29.40. I'll reevaluate it if we get up to 29.30 and see what happens. I'm thinking that we get up here and we may pause or pull back. And if we're going to go higher, we'll do a bit of a pullback and we'll make a higher low and then break out. Up until then, I'm probably not interested in swinging many stocks. There are exceptions to the rule, and I've got a few that I'm going to highlight in a moment. But by and large, we're here in no man's land. We've done our reversion to the mean bounce, went back down, and in 2 days have come back up. 1 day plus, we're talking about tonight's trading, Sunday trading. I'm thinking that we might get up to the 29.30 to 29.40 area. If we do, I'm going to reevaluate when we get up to there. The Dow basically looks the same. Double bottom. Now, this is a more traditional double bottom, but I see the upper level around 26,400. Now, that doesn't mean it's the top. That's just top of the range where I'll be looking for indication of whether we're going to break out or not. NASDAQ about the same as the other two. A little bit stronger, the higher low here. We do have to make a higher high for us to change short-term direction. Now let's go on over to the trouble child, the Russell. The Russell did a nosedive, went lower than the other indices did on that sell-off. We did a pretty healthy rally reversion to the mean, and went back and did a lower closing low, not necessarily a lower absolute low, but we still have a steeper decline going here than, say, the S&P. Now you see how the two moving averages I've got here, the 8 and the 17 EMAs, they're trying to flatten out here. And the Russell, well, it's trying to flatten out, but they still have quite a distance between the two. This is by far the weakest index. And if we fail on the rallies, I'll be watching the IWM as a possible market short, as well as obviously individual securities. All right, let's move on back to our slides. Here's the trade ideas I've got for the week. I've got a lot more longs than I do have shorts. And the reason there is we have got some that are in rebounds off the bottom. And I don't see any, because the overall market's done a bounce, I have to wait for us to roll over and that bounce to exhaust itself before I get too many shorts that show up. All right, let's bring this over. All right, no particular order. This is alphabetical order. Assured Guaranty, AGO, did a huge breakout here on earnings. It pulled back to the breakout level, which is typical. I'm believing that over time we're going to get up to this 47.75 to 47.80 $48 level. All right, and my stochastics RSI is telling me that we may have another day or so to go sideways or down. We could actually curl back up any day now. This week is a possibility. So that's why I've got it. I'm watching. I left the 4440 up there because I wanted to highlight the breakout area. You notice that we went here, which is right up to the prior swing level here. My first target, if I get over, say, $44.75 to $45, my target would be at about the 46 level and looking for a breakout. Target one would be about where these red dots, the volatility dots, are. And my ultimate target, obviously, I would show is being over here. Let's mark that up. All right. So that's what I'm looking at. And my first target to take off a third to a half would be about this $46 or a little under, because a lot of times it'll get up here to run into selling. And if it comes up there and it comes back, I'm okay with that, because it's got to go all the way down to underneath this 44.40 for me to have a losing trade. All right. Next stock on there is ALNY. Again, it did a breakout. If I will mark that right about here. We pulled back to that breakout level, retested it, and now if we get over about this $81 level, I'm going to be interested in going long. First target would be somewhere up here in this $83 level, 85, and ultimately looking for us to get up into the 90s. It's a biotech. It moves 4.3% a day. It's a fairly light trader, so that's why we're going to have these wicks. But I'm going to have to trade it on options anyway. For me, I don't normally buy $80 stocks and have the money just tied up. But I suspect that we're going to go up to this area if we could zigzag higher. The next earnings is until November. So one of these 2 days here was probably the earnings date. ARWR, Arrowhead Pharmaceutical. This breakout is to new highs, ARWR. I don't know that I'm probably all that interested in chasing the breakout, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on my watch list. I will be looking for, let me get my crayons here. I'll be looking for some sort of move up for it to roll over a little bit and pull back. And at some point, it's going to stop. If it's going to work for me, it's going to curl back up. And I want to go long somewhere above that curl up with a stop just under it. My stop's not down here, and it's, it's not going to be probably below 30.25. If we come down and bust below 30.25, I'm going to be very careful that we don't zigzag around the 30.25 level. So I would like for it to stay above 30.25 and establish a higher high, but a dip down even on an intraday, but on a closing basis, I would like for it to stay up there to 30.50 or higher. Personal preference. Now, will the market give me what I want all the time? Most of the time it doesn't. All right, Cloudera. Cloudera, my target is up here. We have this big, huge gap down, and probably on earnings. We've got earnings coming up on 9/4, so we're only talking about 3 weeks away. So I'm looking for us to rally to at least this level around 7.25, maybe up into the $8.50 to $9 level. This is a rounded bottom breakout pattern. If you do notice, we do have good BOP, balance and power here. So people are expecting somewhat of a turnaround in this stock. If you hold it through earnings and it disappoints, it's going to get smacked again. So I would not. I would want to trade this before, and get in and out before earnings, and see if it gets up to the 9. It may just wobble around here in this $7 range, waiting for earnings to come out. If so, I'll probably not be in. Next one is MedP. I put that out last week as well. That's where this green line came from. We got up there and tested it once, twice. Looks like we're getting close to testing it. Balance of power is still okay. I'm looking for a breakout. Let's go to a 3-day chart, and you can see how what we're doing here. Let me edit that. No, I want that one. Set as default. We're basically doing a triangle pennant with us having an upper end here where we can't get above it, but we're not running into big sellers either. In fact, the lows we're making are higher lows all but one of those 3 days. If I go to a 1-day chart, if I use the closing basis, that's what I'm seeing. Use a 2-day chart, that's what we're seeing. 3-day chart, that's what we're seeing. I tend to use the bodies rather than the wicks, the closing on the highs or the lows, or the opens. The body is where the most trading occurred, most likely. And we're doing a rising wedge. This one should break to the upside, and I'd like to be in on that. Okay, moving on to Match. Match gapped up huge and ran on 1 day on its earnings, got up to 95 and pulled back. Where did it pull back to? Around 77.75, the breakout area. It tagged it and then went higher. Now, no sound, Dave. Can you guys hear me? Should be fine. Okay, Malcolm. Ed, thank you. I see you typing. Fine. Thank you, guys. Usually an individual here, because otherwise I'd probably get a lot of people commenting. This thing did about a 3/4, 75 to 2/3 retracement here on the move off the bottom. If I make it here. This is a quad lines. It pulled back to the breakout. Right now, I think that the odds are that it's coming up to the prior swing level, up here into the $90 level. And that's where it's going to possibly stop. Now, I can't guarantee it. We've got good bop. Balance of power is still good here. But traditionally, the Fibonacci's, to my training, is that all I can count on is probably a retest of the swing high. Could that be 95? Could that be at 92? Not sure. But I'm just about to get the stochastics RSI to curl back up, and I was out of action on Friday, so I didn't get a chance to get in. But where would I set the stop? Probably somewhere here below about 81.5, because if it goes up to get me in over Friday's high, and then it comes back all the way down below there, I probably don't want to be in. Again, on a closing basis. All right. You have to look at risk reward. The risk on Friday getting in was a lot lower than it's probably going to be on Monday, unless we can go sideways for a day or so. Next one I have here is really more of an example than it is for a current trade. Mastech. It did a gap against the prior consolidation. Let me go to a 3-day chart, and you can see, the consolidation here around 52.5. The weekly consolidation, you can definitely see it. Back to the daily, we gapped back over this, did a run, did the consolidation, setting up for a 45-degree runner, and this was on Monday. So I said on Sunday, watch for a 45-degree runner, and if it got above this 58.50, we'd be looking to go long. We did. The stop initially was under the low of the day that we came in on, which was on Monday, and then raised the stop pretty much to break even, did not get taken out. When we got up here and did a doji at the end of the day there on Thursday, took some profit, and I still basically have one half of the trade on. Looking for it to curl back up. If we get down below this $58 level, I'm going to be out. I'm trying to let this one curl back up, and now my stop is underneath the lowest of the two candles here. I can use the volatility stop to help me choose, and in fact it's dominating about where I would have established my stop manually. So MTZ, example of 45-degree runner after earnings. It ran up here approximately, 5% or so? Yeah, just under 5%, 6%, and $3.64. So that was a pretty good, decent move. Let's see if it could curl back and continue higher. Another one that I thought would actually do, let's get here on a single day, that I would actually thought it would have picked up the 45-degree runner there from last weekend. I highlighted this, and Stamp actually pulled back to the 50% level with the markets kind of weak there, and we had a huge move on Friday. And if I remember right, Stamp has relatively high short interest, so should not have been surprised that once we moved up over this $58 level that we ran. Now, where can this go? How about this 75.5 level here? There's the big gap. It's probably going to try to close it. Now, will it go in a straight line? I don't know. It's probably going to do a zigzag. I would not expect a straight line run. But look at the balance of power. People jumped in after the good earnings, and they're jumping in. Take-Two Interactive. Let's make sure we're on a single day. Yep. Take-Two. A move back up here would be a J hook in the works here. Stochastics RSI is ready to curl up. Had some people jumping in on Friday volume wise, and I'm looking for a retest of this 130 plus level, and potentially for it to go higher. This 138 to 140 level prior highs, I think that swing will be retested. Let's look at the 3-day. I'll answer your question in just a second there, Tim. Yeah, 137.5-ish. You notice we got up to this 129 to 130 level, ran into sellers. Somewhere in there is kind of where we ran into the sellers. And that's where we ran into right there. Let me see what Tim's got a question. Do you find stock options like Stamp at volume and liquidity is so low that the bid-ask price is too much? Well, the short answer is yes. The short answer is if the actual trading volume is low, that's 750,000. It's over my swing trade minimums, but I would have to go and look at the options. Let's see. Let me jump over there. Where are you? There we go. And let's look at Stamp. And let's analyze if I want to go out. I prefer to go somewhere around 45 days, but I'm not going out to November. We do have reasonable trading going on here. Now, I normally like to see as close to 100 or more contracts as possible. However, if there's 10 times the number of contracts that I'm going to buy, I'm okay with that. So if I'm not going to buy 10 contracts, if I'm only going to buy 2 or 4, all I need is 20 or 40. I just need a market to be in it and open interest. Now, on the day, if I only had 200 contracts, not advocating going into way out of the money low delta. But if I had only 200 or 100 and I see, well, like right here, we got 27 shares, you had 122 traded that day. I bet you, okay, 10% or less bid ask. 10%, that's pretty wide actually, but okay. Now, these are not going to be indicative of what the spreads are going to be because they widened up at the end of the day. I'm going to guess this, instead of being 80 cents, was more in the neighborhood of 45 or 50. So you're talking about a $9 option. You'd give it 90 cents. I probably would only be in the 5% area. I get pretty picky. And then what I would end up doing is watching on a 60-minute chart or a 30-minute chart and let it come back into the sweet spot and do an intraday J hook and try to get on board there. Don't try to chase it. There may not have been a way to get on Friday. I wasn't around. So, all right. Whoops. Get that here. All right. So the answer is probably yes. Yep. You'd like to be or less. The smallest spread as possible. Because basically what you're doing is you're giving the markets a head start. We went to take 2. We're done with that one. Tivity right here. Let me go to a weekly chart. You can see why we stopped here around this $19 level. In the $3 chart, 3-day chart, you got the same. And if we go to a single day, you can see how we zoomed up here. Gonna make an educated guess that this was on release of earnings. Afterwards, the people get kind of bullish and start buying, and we're doing a pennant. Looking for a break above that, or more than likely, because of the price, 1875 breakout. Like it to continue to break out into the 19s and go higher. Once we get over this 1935 level, this right in here, these 2 days, let's show it right here. Those days right there, that's what I call a void. Now, void does not mean a gap. A void means there's very limited resistance, little or no resistance. In this case, all the trades were basically down. It was a waterfall. Going back to the upside, there's going to be very, very few sellers for us to run into, except maybe where this overlapped. So I would be careful about a wobble for a pause right at that level. But if we get in, let's say that we get in at this level here at the breakout, and it gets up into the 20s, I'd be glad to take partial profits there. More than happy. All right, on to U.S. Foods. We've got a J hook going. It also had earnings back here. Notice the BOP. The BOP is in. The buyers are in. Where are we going to possibly go to? Probably this $40 level, 40 to 41. All right. Whoops, let's bring this down. That would be my target on the breakout. And watch out for the breakout to fail. Look at a 3-day chart. You see how we basically consolidated, and we're retesting that high from the breakout. Okay, let's take that up higher. 2 more. VNDA. VNDA is doing a rounded bottom breakout, and it's trying to do something similar to this. with these. I'm using the last 3 or 4 days as the low. So we're basically doing the same pivot that we had in the one before, except it's wider. Now, where are we headed to? That's a good question. I'm going to have to check what the float is. It was 8.5% back over here to the left. We're going back up to the 200 probably at $18 or so to start with. Let me check the short squeeze. I probably should have checked this earlier. VNDA. 11%, so it's higher. And the reason I'm not surprised with that, if it was at 8.5% of the float was short over here, you would almost think that it's going to be higher if we were in a downward slope over here leading into earnings. This is set up for a really nice short covering rally. All right, let's go back to the single day. All right, let's get this over closer. Whoops, get it down here so I can actually see it. Okay, so we're looking for a break of the downtrend there, and then more than likely over 1575. And it's not going to be a scalded dog running higher. It's going to have to work its way up. Now, Chris, I don't have RSI, I have stochastics RSI, and I use 7733. Let me edit it for you or show you. Okay. The RSI period is 7, stochastics period 7%, K3, and I use simple. Right, and I use that on 30, 60, daily, weekly. They tend to work very well, even all the way down to a 5-minute chart, without having to change the parameters. And then percent D is 3, simple. And, okay, let's go to triple V. This is Valvoline. Make sure on the single day. All right, did a move up with us right here. This was probably on earnings. It did a 45-degree runner. It did a huge move up gap, went sideways consolidating, and then it moved higher. Then we pulled back. We didn't pull back to the breakout area, but we pulled back probably to the top of the earnings day. And I think we're now heading higher. Where could it go? Let's go look at the weekly. Here's another reason why we stopped at 22.5, maybe 25 or so. Let's look at the area chart. And we're attempting and have started changing the downtrend. This is a weekly area chart. So if I go back over here, yep. Somewhere here in the May-June time frame, we changed character. And that's why I like to also use the the EMA only chart. We're by 8 and 17. I don't follow ADX, but I am absolutely not surprised on that one. All right, let's go on over to the shorts. Only got, wait a minute. I had 2 shorts. Let me get the WW and I. Sorry about that, folks. All right. Night Vision Holdings. I'm going to probably want to bounce here. Are we on? No, we're on a 2-hour chart. Let's get to the daily. Okay. Right. I'm gonna probably want to get an intraday bounce. It's probably going to come down here to this red line somewhere about there, from anywhere from where it was on Friday lows to about 27.25, 27.5. almost guarantee you that we get down to here and we bounce, and I'd love to see it bounce up into that candle some way, and it could take a couple of days, and then to start to roll over. That way my stop could be above where that inverted J hook is, and then I have a checkpoint when it gets back down to the swing level, and my target would be down here around 26. Now, again, 1.2 million shares, moves over 5% a day, decent volume. We should be able to get in short there. WW. Now here's one that I don't normally advise trading, but I had trouble finding a couple of shorts here. But Weight Watchers is one that I was looking long, and it tells me that we're going to pull back into this red box. So we have the possibility of pulling down somewhere in the neighborhood of 7% or more. Still a bit early, Chris. All right, so this would be a counter trend trade, and I highlight that it's counter trend. That means if it starts to go against you, you need to get the heck out of Dodge, and to know that it's, don't wait too long in it if it's not going. Yeah, WW had great earnings, but let's see what happens. Right. Now, that's one of the reasons why B. Chris, I do not like to go that. I looked at Pan W, Bill. Here's my problem. I didn't want to bring it up because this one lost too much on Friday. I'll come back there, Rob. A lot of stuff about shorts. I mean, you think you're going higher, but right in here, this is going to need a good sized bounce, a reversion to the mean, before I could be really interested in shorting this puppy. I'm going to probably want something on the neighborhood. Oh, yeah, you turkey. I'm going to want to have it somewhere come up like this and roll over. Because it's going to have to get through this level here, and it's going to have some energy to get down below that. I'm going to have to get a bounce up and pull back. All right. Let me go back. Rob B says, my two shorts both have good bop. Well, bop is not the only thing. Bop is secondary, even tertiary. This doesn't give me any pause because we are at a solid downtrend. Let's go look at the EMAs. We've rolled over. 1st of August, we went from an uptrend to a downtrend, and we're now in a confirmed downtrend. Okay, so no, this wouldn't. But there are people, value investors, who are trying to load up on this one, hoping that it's going to bounce back up. Well, let's look at a 3-day chart, and let's look at the weekly. On a weekly basis, investors may kind of like that. They're counting on a double bottom. I don't see it. I would have to see higher highs and higher lows before I could see a long in that one. So no, I did not notice the bop. I don't look at bop unless I was looking for no symbols yet. Wait a minute, guys. I was only covering I and WW for clarification purposes. Now, that's why I said this was a counter trend trade, and be very, very careful. I almost didn't put it on, but I wanted to talk about counter trend trading. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. All right, we have a 60-day trial offer. Anyone interested in joining the hit and run candlesticks or right way options, either one of them, for a 2-month trial period for only $49. That's $25 a month. That's almost giving it away. Now, come on in. You could try either one or both of them. If you're going to do a trial in there, maybe you should do one for 2 months and then the other for the next couple of months. But come in and visit both of them so you can spend some time in there and learn what we do and how we do it. And you have an opportunity to ask questions and get real-time help. All right, if you want to follow me, again, I'm on Top Gun Trading on StockTwits, and there's my YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and, well, why aren't you copying me? There you go. All right. That's for my YouTube channel. You'll find later tonight I'll have a copy of this, and every week that I'm here to record. All right. Now, general questions. Yeah, I've got this recording right now, Chris. I'll have it up probably about an hour after we stop. All right, general questions, not stock specific. Not stock specific. Barry, I don't have any necessary trading strategy other than looking at the charts and looking at the patterns that we already know for longs and shorts, and those will bode well. Now, because the market has done a big pullback, I'm seeing a lot more rounded bottom breakouts than that I've seen in quite a while, and that's because the market in the near term had a near-term pullback. Well, for the last 2 months before the pullback, we had some sort of drift higher. And then we had a pullback, and pretty sharp one at that, and now we've got the things coming back. So I'll be looking at J-hooks and rounded bottom breakouts. I look for J-hooks every day in every market because we'll get some. Some stocks are on their own. Most are not, but some are going to be on their own. All right, let's see. I'm trying to get to the question. What was that short interest website? Shortsqueeze.com. Another one you can find, short interest, you can find it on FinViz. So let's do VNDA. Go here. Let's kill that puppy. One of the reasons why I don't like them is they do a lot of pop-up ads. All right. I'm going to go to Screener. I can find it a lot easier. And then go under ownership. Get rid of you. And there's where I have the float short, 8.5%. Now, that's different than short squeeze, which has 11. Now, I'm looking for somewhere pushing 10 or more percent. 10 or more percent will work. Will I go down to 9 to 9.5 or even maybe 8.5? Sure. But when I do a scan and whatever, I'm looking for high float short 11. Now I've got one say 11, one said 8.5. I had to take ad blocker off because I was getting some of the websites screaming at me that I wanted to go to. And when I'm looking at shorts, which SMA or AMA should look for going to be broken, or which trap area headed down? Bill, I don't use moving averages as triggers. What I do use is I use them to help me visualize a trend. And if we get, say, if stock price drips below the 8 exponential, I potentially will be looking at shorts. If it's above the 8, and like we have back here are Weight Watchers, where I have a 3 exponential, with the 8 and the 17. Let me get the 3 here. Do that. See how the 8 and the 17 are wide apart? To get it wider, you could go over here to the EMA only chart. You can see how it was working back here before the pullback. This is an uptrend, and in this case, I want to only be trading in the direction of the trend. In the downtrend, let's go ahead and get my crayons. Here I want, oh geez, my fingers are going too fast. All right, I only want to be trading to the downside here. Probably going to not trade at all in here or in here. Once we get above this level here, I'm probably trading only to the upside. Here, we're not in the downside, so I'm not trading. Here, I'd want to be trading to the upside. Except right in here, we've got a long ways separated from the 17. There is the possibility of a counter trade. Well, we probably needed to enter on Friday. Okay. Yes, RWO I think would be a better for options traders. So Tim, I'd go into right way options, most definitely. Okay. Yes, Malcolm. We have every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, except we're not going to have it around the holidays. So the next Monday holiday we have is Labor Day. We will not have one on the day before Labor Day. All right. Okay. What's the impact of the short squeeze? Probably this huge run up. And WW has 18.75% float short. No, it's seven. Well, hold on a second. Let me get that. You did ask. I forgot. 733. Go under studies. I'll do an edit study. Do stochastics RSI. I use Wilders. I use the close. I use simple. And I use K period 7, D3, slowing period 3. Does that help? Okay. All right, David. Sorry. Thanks for posting it again. All right, here we go. I am ignoring any comments above the crosses there. Lee H, sorry, your V-stop setting. It is 10. Bring it up here so I can. All right. The true range is 10 periods, 10 range periods, 1.5 multiplier. And we found Doug Campbell came up with this one. He studied it for quite some time and found that was a very, very good one to use, and it works quite well. Now, do I use it? I don't talk for anybody else. Do I use it as my absolute stop to the downside or upside? No. Do I use it as a recommended level to start looking? Yes. And so therefore, this one recommended where the green dots are. I like where that is because it was underneath this low here. There are others where they may have been too wide. Let's go to the longs real quick. If I was in long up here, there's no way I'd have my stop all the way down here below 44.19. Just no way. it would have been somewhere up in here at the midpoint of this candle or whatever. I probably would have gone to a 60 or 30-minute chart and tried to find. This ran like a scalded dog out of the gates there, fella. In the first 5 minutes or so. Yeah, there's probably no way that I'd have probably been able to leave it. Probably much lower than 44.70 or so on a closing basis. So, all right, let's get on to some of the stocks you guys have got there. Can I check? Now I can't do two, so I'm going to do AZO. AutoZone, 17th of September. AutoZone's in a downtrend. AutoZone gapped lower and then pulled back up. I think AutoZone is a short if it rolls over. If it gets back over here, I'm going to have to see what it does when it gets up towards the 50. But if it gets up in there, it's kind of a nothing. And right now, it's really touching the fact that it's rallied a little bit too much for the short. Malcolm wants to look at Lulu. It's a possible short. Yes. Now, you notice how Lulu rolled over, got down to the 100 with dash lines, did a rally above the 50, then rolled down and did a double bottom. I would have to see it roll over pretty close to where we're at right now. And then my first target would be where the lows are, the double bottom was. Will it work? I don't know if it's going to give it to us because the stochastics RSI is ready to curl back up. So these are not in sync with one another. So we'll have to see. Price-wise, which is king, which is paramount, if we can go sideways here and let this stochastics RSI wobble around and roll back over, that would be okay. Ken says the WW's short looks risky to me. I did say it was a counter trade trade. It would have to be short term, yes. What's the scanning code for a J-hook on a TC2000? Gwen, at the tail end of this, would you ask that one again? I'll be happy to post it. Long car. I thought car was going to roll over here, but it didn't. I don't like the fact that it's still trying to recover from this big down move. I liked car when it was back here up and until earnings. But what I'm going to want to see out of car, why in the world is that? I'm not doing it too fast. I'm going to have to see higher highs and higher lows. I'm definitely going to have to see a high approaching 26 or higher. Can I say that we've done a higher low here? Probably. Can I say that we've done a higher high there? Probably not. That's why I think we're going to have to get over 26. Maybe you could do that, but what are you looking for? Probably sellers to show up right at around 27. So this is a little dicey. Let's look at the EMAs. And we haven't established that uptrend yet. Okay. I'm going to cut off any further stocks because I need to get some dinner. How do I use stochastics RSI? Okay, here we go. I am going to, I don't know that I have a video that I've made on using the stochastics RSI that's in the open domain. No. If you really want to know, whoops. Nope. I should have this at hand. Okay. Right here. Now, it is 147 bucks, but we put it out, and there's no way that I can go over this entire presentation. It was 2 to 2.5 hours. There's no way for me to go over that without kind of dissing the people that paid for it. All right. So if you're interested in signing up for it, I'll give you the link. But suffice it to say, if I were to tell you that I use it primarily the curl down, when I see like this right down here, I had a hammer. I'm looking for a breakout above the hammer. Stochastics at the bottom, curling back up. If I'm at the top, I'm saying, hey, we're overbought, but we can stay overbought forever. But I'm going to look at it, and when I see a candle here, we'll go to a 3-day, and we're at the top. Here's a 3-day, and we're at the top. We went flat for quite a while the price went upwards and then sideways, and then it rolled over. It's probably time to exit. Some stocks are easier to play the stochastics RSI, and the reason that the stochastics RSI is in a long course on its own is that it's very much one of those you have to play with a lot to be able to get it right. It's not a simple on-off button. You have to know that it can stay overbought and pegged because it's artificially limited to 0 or 100. This number, if I did all the calculations, could possibly go to 130 or 150. It could go to minus 25 or minus 50. So what really has to happen is you have to judge it. Very infrequently does it get stuck at the top or stuck at the bottom, but it can. Like car, the strongest of the strong gets stuck at the top. The weakest of the weak gets stuck at the bottom. All right. SBAC long. Wow. Where were we for the last month? Jonathan B., you should have told us. Time to get in. This one was a breakout. We've got to let it come back. We have been running now, for 2.5 months. Let me use this as kind of an educational thing. We got up here, got up to the SBAC, the end of May, got up. Once it broke above this level, these were long. This was an opportunity we should have been long if we were watching it. Maybe the pullback here, possible long there. Exit when we came back here, did the scoop pattern, probably looking for the long above this level. It went back up and retested it, but didn't break out. Came back up here, retested it, and then gapped up. I'm going to bet that's on earnings. 11/4, August, maybe not. But this right in here, now you start looking for the breakout level around 250. Those are the levels that we should be looking at trying to go long. Could we have possibly gone long? Let me do this. Get rid of all those. Start again. Could we have gone long on this scoop pattern with a tight stop underneath? It it says yes because we worked there. Scoops do tend to work after you've had a long run up and then a scoop pattern back off a sell off and a dip, especially if um, it corresponds with a market dip. Those are probably going to work. Now, this July, this was a market dip, but I'm going to say that this was probably earnings and you probably couldn't have gone long. There's just a lot of times where things work, but you had no way of actually being able to ride that without taking too much risk. Scott P wants to look at PayX short. Actually, that's not bad. Let's go over here. I'm going to go to my shorts. I'm going to add it to my short list here because what I'm interested in, get back to the daily. I would love for this to bounce and probably no higher than about 82.5 to 83 and then roll over. But you cannot go short here, but you got to be patient. This one will probably work its way out. October the 1st, yes. More than likely, there's your trend. The trend has not been broken as long as it stays below that trend line. Whoops. And I'm going to draw, and your target would be an extension of this line here. And where would we use as a checkpoint and a possible first target? Probably somewhere around in there. So thanks for that one. I appreciate it. Nice one, Scott. William Z. Kroger Long. I had looked at that one but ignored it. It is an RBB. Good bop. Why did I discard that one? Maybe I was looking at this. No, this one should be, wait a minute. Nope, it should have been on the long. I don't have anything wrong with that at all. Assuming that we get, I can see why I did here, is that we got this gap down and then we got the move up. We're probably going to have to get over 23 or so. Now, Doug Campbell would not touch this with a 10-foot pole or a 7-foot Russian. He wants it to get over the volatility stops. When it gets back up over 23 something, he'd probably be interested. I could see going long, and I would be watching like a hawk when it got up to this prior swing level. Kosh wants to look at COUP, C-O-U-P. Please use capital letters when you put out symbols. It's easier to read. Okay. EMA went flat. I can see that. Let's go to a 3-day chart. We did a pullback. On a 3-day chart, we're now below the vol stop. Balance of power kind of fell off. We've got about 3 weeks to run to earnings. This is kind of flaky right here. It was really, really good back in here, and we ran up 50%. I don't know how much more we're going to get going with COUP with earnings still ahead. I would suspect that what we're going to probably get, and then this is trying to read the tea leaves, is that we're going to bounce somewhere in this area and stay in there until we get through earnings. We may go up to the top here, but I don't think we're going to break out until we get earnings. Okay, Kroger. Bob J, Fox A. I was in Fox A short last week. I bailed out. We're going to have to get a bounce, and I would look to a bounce somewhere in the neighborhood of $34. and watch it roll back over. November the 6th, we still have quite a ways. One reason we were down here on earnings. And that was a decent short. I went short going through 36. And I think I actually had to bail out here at 35 ahead of earnings. I couldn't ride through earnings, even though I thought it would be that way. Probably should have re-entered. But I'm going to need a bounce first in Fox A. Long Starbucks. Hey, Richard. My wife has Starbucks. Boy, it did the 1.618 retracement, or sorry, expansion and then some. I can probably get rid of this. It's only going to just clutter things up. Let's look at the quad lines, the poor bands, fibs. Pulled around to about the 50% level. You notice how it's having trouble digesting this last move? I'd keep an eye on it. But one of the reasons why it's having trouble, it's up almost 70% in 9 months. It's had a hell of a run. We've had multiple opportunities back here to get in. And the big run here, then it kind of rolled, kind of consolidated its level. Then did a surge and then a pullback, surge and pullback. This is going to be pretty tough. It's not showing me that it wants to explode higher. Now, I got out before earnings. Kind of kicking myself. It went up to, notice what it went to? Went to 100. Went to a round number. They tend to do that if they get over the 90s. Oh, Thomas, I apologize. I skipped AbbVie. Okay, here's where the reversion to the mean comes into play. Move down, pull back up. If I turn this around, this would be basically an inverted J hook. Let me take you over to Thinkorswim. And I put a minus sign in front of ABBV and it'll invert the chart. You notice what we did here? We did the strong move up, actually down in price, and then the pullback. Does that look like a J hook to you? Yeah, but it's an inverted J hook. And we train our eyes to see that inverted. Down, reversion to the mean. That's where the moving averages help. And the short, ideal short was about 72. I did not see that. Right now, you're going to have to get another bounce before I would say that you should probably go short. But if you could get a bounce, fine. 11-1. Yeah, AbbVie's having trouble. WBA bullish long for Charles. Oh, why do you think I would say no on this one, Charles? Primarily because if we go look here at the EMAs, what trend are we in? We're in a solid downtrend. Solid, solid, solid. I am definitely, you're going to for this one to be changed to a long, I have to change and break the downtrend, make a higher high, so it's got to get over 53, and make a higher low. So at some point it's got to do the zigzag higher. Higher highs, higher lows. If it doesn't have higher highs, higher lows, I don't want to know about long. There's too many other good ones out there. And this one's probably going to fail the first time up. Long Twitter for Rick. Twitter. I was long back here but got out. Let's go look at a 3-day chart. This one's kind of tough, but if I look at the 3-day chart or even a weekly, it's starting to do the pullback. That's what I'm seeing. I'm going to want it to break probably above 41 to 41 and a half. Get out of that channel. That is a bullish chart, but it's not ready today. Where's it going to have to get over? Probably there's 41.75. So somewhere in that, between that and 42. We do have a little bit of bop in there. So I see what you're looking at. Bob S. wants to look at Tango, AT&T, both the weekly and daily charts. Now, one of the reasons why AT&T is picking up a bid, it's got 5.8% dividend yield. And the weeklies, it's got a little bit of sailing above. Let's go look at the area chart. And you can see that in the EMAs, it's changed to an uptrend from a downtrend. All right. Now the problem is where to get in. I don't like to buy breakouts. I'd wait for a pullback. If they come back up here, come back. And maybe if it came back to 34 and a half and it gave a bullish signal, that would be good. Okay. Roger. No. Dave, KBR short. Possible. Back here last week, KBR sure looked like a short to me. And then it rolled over, but it held here on a double bottom. Right now, that's a no trading zone. I'm going to have it break below this $24 level. Or gets up here to the top of that zone and then rolls over. A very aggressive trade would go short with a stop right above the top of the zone. But more than likely, I'd want it to go down here because it's still in an uptrend. Longer term. Longer than I would ever stay in it, but longer term. The 50 is still pointing upwards. The 100 is still pointing upwards. The EMAs have not really established a downtrend. All right, let's look at GDX for Roger. I appreciate you guys showing up tonight. If anybody had to leave, Sean G pointed out this one from last week. He wanted to look at it. If we go look at a 3-day chart, you can see how it's pulling back. This is a weekly chart. This weekly candle is not bullish, but as long as it holds above $28, fine. But we haven't stopped the downtrend here on a daily chart. I'd wait for a bullish signal. Could be bullish in Gulf. It could be a Morning Star or something, and probably a move over 28.75 to prove that it's going higher. Could you drill down to a 60-minute chart and make it break above the downtrend here? Yes. Okay. CVS. Looking at an RBB. Well, not anymore. CVS, the RBB has to have more than 10% up to the 200. It was an RBB back in here when it did the pullback. Then it went out of RBB land and then gapped back up above it. And that was on earnings. So somewhere in here before Friday. Now, as far as long goes, it possibly goes to 63 or so. And I would suspect that CVS has High short interest. Let me look on the side here. Nope, only 1.6%. It'll probably crawl its way back up here to the $63 to $64 level. But it is not an RBB. But that's fine. Celgene Long. Oh, I'm going to hate this one, I think. No, it recovered. Yes, I could see Celgene Long probably above somewhere in this area here. Somewhere around 93 to 95. 95 to 95 and a half. Stochastic RSI curling back up. Good positive signal. Aggressive trade could go long right in here, but where would you put your stop? Probably put your stop somewhere right here around 94, 94 and a quarter. I guess. Tilray short. Woo. Too late for Tilray. And Tilray moves almost 10% a day. Wait for the bounce. Wait for the bounce back up around 35 or so, and then roll back over. But Tilray is too late. The short was back here. Now, when did it report earnings? I don't know. Somewhere back in here. But the last couple of days, you would have made your money. But no, you can't. It's too late to short here without a bounce. Now, can it work and go lower? Yes. Is the risk there and the reward there? No. Because you would have to have your stop right now at a 35 or higher. Maybe, let's just say where the volatility bot is. 36.50. You would be having to risk $4 or $5. Well, I don't know. Does it have another $4 or $5 in this run before it would come back up and take you out? I have no idea. The odds are we're going to get a bounce first. Campbell Soup. Again, these are my opinions. Nothing in concrete. And I've got that as Campbell Soup looks like on the 43s. Let me look at the float. Yes. 12.7%. This is a great candidate for a short covering rally. Let's go to the daily. Probably in there. 3-day chart. I have no idea where it's going to run into resistance. It could be as high as 45. Not a bad chart. Campbell Soup. Yep. And Adam gets the last one today, NVIDIA. One of our darlings for the last few years has turned into a dog. This is nothing. Look what happened here. We've had a short-term downtrend trying to bounce, but we're making, I guess you could call that a higher low. Boy, until you get over 176, I'm probably not interested. Maybe an aggressive trade over 166, I guess. But you may run into sellers at 175 or 195. I don't know. If I go look at that's a 3-day chart. You see how we've got lots and lots of gaps here? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a weekly chart, and see how it's just kind of doing the wave. It's riding the wave. Wait till it gets out of here. It gets above 190 or gets below 120, 126, 130. Gee, okay, gets above 190, and then you've got lots of clear sailing above. I don't know, maybe above this 160 we could go up to the 175 level. But where would the stop be? Well, volatility stop says it has to be down below 150. That's a little bit too low. Anyway, let's go see if we have any more comments down below. Oh, sorry, Gwen. Didn't mean to skip you there, and then we didn't come back to your question there. You only get one SPLK. And you were looking for long or short, Gwen? Because this one is in a downtrend. In fact, it's a big, huge trading range here. But the most recent trend is down. I'll do this. Nope. Do not. You're already long. Be careful. If it disappoints, it's going to get absolutely whacked. There's not a lot of confidence in this one at the moment. It's in a downtrend. Scanning code for JHook for TC2000. Right. All right. Let me open this up and I'll talk you through it real quick. It's a text file. This is the name that I call it because this is what Rick called it when we first developed it. These are the conditions. This is the name of a condition, AB for above. So the 8 exponential is above the 20 simple. There's the formulas. AB 8 3450 is the 8 exponential is above the 34 exponential, which is above the 50 simple. 2 days lower highs. We came up with that because lower lows didn't seem to come up. It missed some, but the lower highs definitely worked better. And we only went for 2 days, and 3 or 4 would be okay, but it has to be at least 2. We put in up today. The current price is over the current from 1 day ago, which is above the current open. Up today over the yesterday's open at close. Ignore stochastics RSI. Average volume 20 days. And I have a formula for average 2 range 14. Average 2 range has been added to version 19 or 18, one of those, but it's in there, so you could just put in average 2 range, whatever you want, or you could put in the formula. All right, does that help, Gwen? You're welcome, Bob. Dolores. Telray reported on the 13th. Oh, wow. That would have been a perfect short right here. 39 bucks. Man. I think we looked at it. Tilray, I call it Tilray. Had to pay a lot in the options. And I think some people took it, but I skipped it because the options were just very expensive. All right. Okie dokie. All the marijuana stocks are going lower because the marijuana got too much product, not enough people. Yep. And Cron. It's kind of like Bitcoin. It's good while it's going up. And I think the party's over for now. It'll probably settle down and it'll be a decent thing. It got too far ahead of itself. TLRY. Let's go back over here. Let's do here. And this will be the last one we talk about. We had an Eiffel Tower here. Classic where things get way too far ahead of themselves. There's the move up. And there's the move down. Now, did it kind of slide off to the side? Yeah, it kind of skewed off to the side, but all right. This one got too high in more ways than one. All right, folks, thanks again for joining us. See you again next week. Aloha. Be cool. All right. Again, FOMC Minutes, Wednesday. Ta.